I guess where to begin. The results last weekend definitely weren't in the script. They weren't in the forecast. We expected much better. We thought with the amount of divisions we were getting out, quality of the teams, the strength of the divisions that we were in, that we should have been able to pick up, some cards, some prizes from it. But definitely not the results that the club would have wanted. We do have that kind of silver lining on, our Division 3 in-season champion Super Rare team managed to sneak into the promotion spots, and sadly, this strategy almost really paid off in a big way. There was 17 entrants right before deadline, and with it paying out 7 places in cash, I thought, we've probably got a fair chance of getting into that top 7 and, getting promotion on top of it. Sadly, we didn't break into that top 7. We finished 16th, but with Captain Goretzka leading the way along with Mandanda putting in a good result, at least those guys have got promoted this week, which is more than what we can say for the contender lineups. The main Celtic strategy that the club runs. We were actually quite confident coming into the game against Rangers, thinking big players, big scores, and big matches. And we went for the trifecta. We played 2 first division teams that ended up in a double relegation. So that's really where the weekend really didn't go to plan for us. And even though these 2 teams here got relegated, there was a wee bit of hope that maybe the underdog lineup that we'd put out might have done something a little bit better. But at least it never got relegated is the only thing. It stays in Division 3 ahead of next week. All-Star Rare really suffered from the goalkeeper, which is a bit of a recurring theme over the last couple of weeks for us. Goalkeepers have been letting us down. We also seen Tani get sent off. And really right across the board, the cap competitions do paint a good picture of we just didn't have that many guys that really delivered in a big way to help us get cards, to help us hit threshold, or for any of the targets that we set out for this game week. It was good to see some of the tertiary squad players playing a part. We get Thiago Andrade's first 60 plus since he's been in China. Lennon Miller, fantastic super sub effort for him. And then seeing Soler and Limer start and play pretty well is always good for us to see. But sadly, none of these results or performances actually reaped any benefit for us, sadly. So it's a week where, I think everyone at the club really needs to have a bit of a reality check. Are the players good enough? Are they competing at the right level? And coming into next game week, there is a lot of difficult decisions to be made, in terms of players' ins and outs. And like I mentioned already, who is good enough to compete in some of these divisions that we're trying to run in. So it's definitely back to the drawing board ahead of this weekend. And the real headache for the club coming into the weekend is, particularly for the super rares, do we go with 2 entries into Division 2 with the teams that we've got? We need to also check on some fitness and availability a little bit closer to deadline. But equally, we could slide both of those teams into a classic situation into the same division, so I can attack Division 2, Classic, and in-season. And that's a real dilemma. It's a real stratagem that the club is going to be wrestling with over the next couple of days, because like I've mentioned earlier, we're just not really too sure the level of the players that we've got and how ferocious they can be in the competitions. For contender, it's all about getting back to where we were. Double relegation last week. We really need that to be a double promotion this weekend. Celtic at home at St Mirren should be a bit more convincing a result for us on the pitch, and for myself, SO5 on the leaderboard. And we'll bring Hiber into this underdog team probably, just because I don't know what will happen with Kyogo after Adamida coming off the bench and doing really well against Rangers at the weekend. So, we're thinking ahead already. We'll probably get some really strong all-star lineups out again, which the club always enjoys doing, and we'll take every opportunity to do while we're in this final kind of stages of the transition period for the European season. And again, for cap modes, we can go quite strong and we can do our thing there. So again, it's one of those ones where the squad, the club, we've managed to rack up the numbers, the amount of choices that we've got for different positions, different players and different fixtures. Getting them all to line up is part of the game, is part of the trick. But we've now got the dilemma, decision, headache around it of, what divisions actually look like on a week-to-week basis, and, where can we actually go and compete. So sadly, no major news this weekend, no major incomings or anything like that to be opening up. Sadly, a couple of relegations. We've got a suspended Tani for next weekend, so we're a goalkeeper down. And otherwise, I think the injury news from the fitness team has just been Memphis Depay. It's probably going to be missing the rest of the season. But it does feel outside of that really the whole squad is fit and firing and available. Some of them have some midweek football to contend with, so we need to keep our ears to the ground for any developments on squad situations, rotations. between now and the deadline on Friday. And really, between now and then, the club could go in any direction ahead of the weekend. So we're really interested to hear what the rest of the community thinks, what the rest of the FC Barcelona fan base are thinking in the aftermath of that weekend. That double relegation won't be sitting well with the fans, I know that. And, we don't rest on our laurels. FC Barcelona is all about being in the highest divisions we can possibly get ourselves into. And, we don't take this as like, oh, it was because Celtic were playing Rangers, it was a tough game, or, any of this stuff. We leave those excuses at the door. It's all about the teams we're picking. It's all about the divisions we're selecting. And I think from the cards, the players, and from the selection committee, the management team, we're all striving to do better over the next couple of days. Expectations for the weekend is going to be the same again as it was the weekend before, where we'd expect to be grabbing a couple of cards, if not more, from actual placing on the leaderboard. And with the boxes in the classic division we might be able to get our hands on, maybe we can get a little bit of a Brucey bonus in that regard. But in terms of cash, how much money are we going to try and win this game week? That's the thing that we're really wrestling with because of the situation we had last week and really throughout the initial weeks we've had of this handover period, trying to really wrestle with where can we win money, how much money can we win, and how likely is that to happen in any given week in particular. So it's one that we'll be stewing over. We'll be kind of weighing up the pros and cons and sketching out probability scores and all the rest of it ahead of the weekend. But yeah, it's definitely, still a lot to be played for the rest of this season. And FC Barcelona, like for Champion Super Rare, for Classic Contender, we want to be operating with as many Division 1 entries as we possibly can. Classic in season, whatever it is, depends on the strategy we've got there. So it's going to be a long week ahead before we get to the deadline to make sure we've got all of our ducks in a row, all the players are fit and firing, and we can keep on that kind of momentum of not getting DNPs, not getting the random scores of guys that just have an absolute nightmare, and just really let the rest of the side down. Because we've always got, over the last couple of weeks, at least one guy that hasn't quite delivered what was expected or pulled their weight or even ended up by surprise on the bench. So, as long as we can contend with those things as best we possibly can, I've got full confidence that the quality of the squad will show. It will come to bear on the leaderboard, and let's hope that happens sooner rather than later, because with every passing weekend, the season is coming closer and closer to a conclusion for all the European cards that we've got. So time is of the essence. Excellent. So yeah, I guess I'll see you all back here on Friday for the deadline show. If not, some point in between then for some sort of scouting or analysis topics on the channel. Don't forget, at any point, if you did laugh, learn, and like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this on screen. And now with some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.